All right, everyone. A couple days ago, Ted Lieu I think it's pronounced Ted Lieu, of California, Democrat within the Senate, said basically he was talking about the concept of speech and censorship, I think in regards specifically to Silicon Valley, which has become a national issue now. It's good that it's having a national conversation because before it was like people just assumed, yeah, it's okay to ban the extremists. Now they're like, hey, it seems like some of these people aren't actually extreme at all, and the whole concept of corporations choosing what should be said is probably not the greatest idea under the sun. Maybe we should rethink this one. We were rambling about net neutrality and ISPs not doing it, but for some reason we don't care if Tim Cook does it. I think that's a crazy idea. He came out and said, well, I'd love to regulate speech, but I can't do that. Now, people were seizing upon the doctored, edited clip, which isn't doctored or edited, it's just slightly contextless, in which he simply says, yeah, I'd love to regulate speech, and they cut it off there. I would say it's even more concerning after one sense, that he then says, but the Constitution, the First Amendment won't allow me to do so, because it shows that he understands the constraint, but he doesn't understand why it's important. I would rather him say, hey, I'd love to regulate speech, yeah, I would love to tell people what they can say. At least then he could say, well, I'm ignorant. I didn't know that the First Amendment would prevent me from doing that. I thought that hate speech hadn't been ruled lawful by SCOTUS 9-0 a couple of years ago and shit. He could have said that. But he's acknowledging that he understands the constraint of the First Amendment prevents the government from doing that, and yet he's still in support of the idea. He has disdain. He has disdain for the U.S. Constitution. He should resign. He should be kicked out of office immediately by his own voters, and I'll tell you why. This sort of thing is what destroys the Democratic Party. This sort of thing does not endear you to the average voter. The concept that the government should regulate things more heavily is not actually well received. When you phrase it a certain way, it's like when I debate with certain people that are on the left. They're like, well, universal health care is wildly popular as a suggestion for us to do. And then I say, okay, now ask them the real question, which is, do you want your taxes raised by a significant margin? I think you'll find that 70% or so support dwindles to a very, very low order of magnitude. I think that you'll find that it's like maybe 10% support. Basically, people who are either so poor they don't have to pay taxes or so rich that they don't care if they have to pay taxes. They probably don't care. They're probably like, yeah, universal health care, yeah, I'll pay 50% more tax rate. That's fine. For everybody else, there's probably more reluctance to do such a thing. Like for someone like me who's within the middle class, do I want to pay like an extra, 5-10 grand a year, an extra 10% tax or some inordinate sum for other people to get health care and for me to get a crappy state-only program in a non-competitive healthcare market here in Vermont? Yeah, fuck that. No thanks. I don't want your overpriced bullshit. If I was in a state where there was more competition, I could get a simple plan that would cover the basics, yeah, maybe I'd go for that. Maybe just have basic general care, dental, and maybe catastrophic or something. I'm not sitting there pilling myself up. I'm 30 years old. I don't exactly have to take 5 prescriptions a day. I don't expect the high likelihood of contracting some exotic disease anytime soon. I probably don't need some of the kinds of coverage. I need coverage for my birth control pills or something. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's not necessary for me. Thank goodness the mandate, by the way, is gone. But anyway, Ted has shown a remarkable resistance to the philosophical concept of free speech, and I've spoken of this before. It's not just the First Amendment. It's the concept of freedom. It's the philosophical Enlightenment era ideal of people being able to say what they wish to say if they are not credibly threatening another person causing potential imminent harm. They are not defaming a person causing harm to their livelihood, to their property. They are not attempting to intimidate someone or incite violence towards them. And then you've got spam. In the internet era, spam, it's not covered by free speech. Because you're either blocking others from lawfully speaking in a proper manner, or you're a bot or something, and bots, scripts on someone's computer don't really have free speech rights. Oh, my mass emailer is now a person. Well, the SCOTUS already called corporations people for all intents and purposes. When do they decide that some script on a computer is a person too and has certain rights? They'll probably do it too. We're a ways out from iRobot. Maybe we should preemptively begin thinking about these things. Again, I still think I have plans to write a book on robotic ethics. I only touched on it briefly before. Yeah, here's what I would say. Ted Lieu should definitely resign. Now, when a person in Congress has contempt for the Constitution, they shouldn't be in Congress. This would extend anyone. Look, people think it's an attack on the First Amendment when Trump says mean things to someone in the press on Twitter. If that's a violation of the First Amendment in some, imaginary way, certainly this would be. This has a chilling effect, by the way, on people. When you have people in government talking about how they'd love to rescind the First Amendment, to violate people's First Amendment rights, to tell them, there are certain things you're not allowed to say even though they're otherwise lawful, fuck free expression, fuck the press and stuff. That's crazy talk. That has a negative impact on all of society. Your kids have to hear that and they're like, oh, well, this senator says it's okay to censor people, so maybe it's okay and cool after all. Not that the average Gen Zer is probably thinks Ted Lieu is cool or anything. They probably think Beto O'Rourke is because he skateboarded awkwardly across the stage. Hey, man, fucking dabbing on people and doing stupid shit like that. They still think that he's one of the front runners for 2020 to run against Donald Trump. Oh my God, what a shit show that would be. Oh my God, he can't even beat Ted Cruz. So yeah, you might have a few problems with that, especially if you're from a state that is not actually competitive. It's a pipe dream of the Democrats and a fever dream nightmare for the Republicans to think of Texas going blue. Yeah, you'll be waiting a long time. Don't worry about it too much. That's my prediction. But no, Ted Lieu should resign. You hold the Constitution in contempt. It's not ignorance. It's not like you don't know that the First Amendment protects people from your authoritarianism. It's more that you don't care. You think, fuck the First Amendment. Oh, I wish it wasn't there. I'd regulate speech tomorrow. Be a great idea. Well, how would you do that, Ted? Are you going to throw people in jail for saying the wrong things that you don't agree with? Yeah, slippery slope to fascism that one is, but you'll never hear him admit to it. That's about all. Peace out.